The Canoe Man. In March 2002, John Darwin paddled his canoe into the North Sea off the coast of England and never came back. Search teams found the canoe washed up broken on the shore days later. Nobody was ever recovered. His wife Anne told police he must have drowned, and over the following years she collected £680,000 in life insurance and pension payouts. There was one problem. John Darwin was alive the entire time. He had been hiding in a secret room built into a wall of their own house, connected by a hidden door disguised as a bookshelf. Anne knew from the start. She had helped plan it. The two were drowning in debt, and faking his death was their way out. Once the insurance money came through, John moved to Panama, and Anne eventually joined him there. For 5 years it worked. Their own 2 adult sons believed their father was dead and grieved him for real. Then in 2007, John Darwin walked into a London police station claiming amnesia, saying he had no memory of the last 5 years. Officers began digging, and the story fell apart fast. A Panama real estate website advertising property for sale had a photo on it, and standing in the background smiling were John and Anne Darwin, together, very much alive, dated years after his supposed death. Someone recognized their faces and sent it straight to a British newspaper. It went public within days. Both were arrested. Anne was sentenced to 6.5 years. John got 6 years and 3 months. Their sons never fully forgave them. The Master Forger. Wolfgang Beltracchi spent nearly 40 years selling fake paintings to some of the most respected collectors, dealers, and auction houses in the world. He did not just copy existing paintings, he created entirely new works in the exact style of famous 20th century artists like Max Ernst and passed them off as long-lost originals that had simply never been documented before. He was extraordinarily good at it. At one point, the world's top authority on Max Ernst walked into Beltracchi's own bedroom, saw one of his forgeries hanging over the bed, and personally declared it authentic on the spot. Beltracchi and his wife made millions of dollars this way, sometimes selling a single forged painting for over €2 million. His downfall came from a single painting sold at auction as a lost work supposedly painted in 1914. It sold for €2.8 million, but when the buyer had it scientifically tested, chemists found titanium white paint inside it, a pigment that manufacturers did not start producing until the 1920s. That one detail unraveled everything. Investigators tested other paintings connected to him and found the same problem repeating. He was arrested in 2010 and sentenced to 6 years in prison. The Forgotten Vermeer. In 1937, a struggling Dutch painter named Han van Meegeren unveiled what he claimed was a newly discovered painting by Johannes Vermeer, one of the most celebrated and rare artists in history. The painting was shown to Abraham Bredius, considered the foremost Vermeer expert alive at the time. Bredius examined it and declared it a genuine, previously unknown masterpiece. It was purchased for what would be worth millions today and proudly displayed in a museum in Rotterdam. Van Meegeren had painted it himself, using techniques designed to fool scientific testing, mixing his paints with a hardening chemical, and baking the canvas to artificially crack and age the surface the way centuries of real aging would. He kept producing and selling fake Vermeers for years, becoming enormously wealthy. During World War II, one of his forgeries was purchased by Hermann Göring, one of the most senior officials in Nazi Germany. After the war, Allied investigators traced that painting back to Van Meegeren and arrested him, charging him with treason for selling a Dutch national treasure to the Nazis, a crime that carried a potential death sentence. Facing execution, he made a stunning confession. The painting was not a national treasure at all. He had painted it himself, and he could prove it. To demonstrate, he painted an entirely new forged Vermeer in front of witnesses while still in custody. Authorities confirmed he really was the forger, not a traitor. He was convicted of forgery instead, a far lesser charge, and sentenced to 1 year in prison. He died before serving most of it. $140 million Diploma Mill. Exact presented itself as a leading information technology company based in Pakistan. Its biggest business was actually something else entirely, selling fake college degrees to people across the world who believed they were enrolling in real online universities. The company ran hundreds of fake school websites, complete with course catalogs, fake professors, fake student testimonials, and fake accreditation seals designed to look official. Customers paid upfront fees believing they were signing up for real coursework and received nothing in return except a printed diploma from a school that existed only as a website. At the United Nations, a staff member was fired in 2005 after officials discovered his computer science degrees had been purchased, not earned. A U.S. federal audit later found over 460 government employees across multiple agencies had used degrees from diploma mills just like these, including senior staff at a nuclear security agency. Exact reportedly made over $140 million this way. It finally collapsed after journalists began investigating why so many of Exact's accredited universities had no real campuses, no verifiable faculty, and nearly identical website templates. Pakistani authorities raided the company and arrested executives in 2015. One of them was later arrested in the United States, sentenced to prison and ordered to forfeit over $5 million. The fake heiress. Starting in 2016, a young woman calling herself Anna Delvey began appearing across New York's elite social scene, telling everyone she was a German heiress with a trust fund worth around $67 million. She lived in luxury boutique hotels, tipped extravagantly, charged enormous amounts to credit cards, and convinced hotel staff to let her stay without paying up front. She forged financial documents and tried to secure a $22 million loan to open a private arts club. For over a year, almost nobody questioned her, because she spent exactly like someone with real money behind her. In reality, she came from a middle-class Russian family, had no college degree, and had no trust fund at all. Her real name was Anna Sorokin. It began unraveling when her credit cards started getting declined, and hotels she had been dodging finally reported thousands of dollars in unpaid bills. A bank reviewing her loan application could not verify any of her financial paperwork and denied the request. She was arrested in 2017, and a Manhattan jury convicted her in 2019 on multiple counts of grand larceny and theft of services. She was sentenced to 4 to 12 years in prison. The Tinder swindler. Starting around 2017, arrested but a man calling himself Simon Leviev appeared across dating apps in Europe, presenting himself as the wealthy son of a billionaire diamond dealer. He showed off private jets, luxury hotel suites, and designer clothing, building an image of extreme wealth almost immediately. He would match with women, move quickly into a relationship, and shower them with attention and expensive dates. Then within weeks a crisis would appear. He would claim enemies in the diamond business were hunting him, and that using his own credit cards or bank accounts would let them track his location and put his life in danger. He asked victims to open credit cards in their own names and lend him the funds, promising to repay everything once the danger passed. Believing they were helping someone they loved survive a genuine threat, several women did exactly that, taking on significant debt in his name. He never repaid any of it. Once one woman's funds ran low, he quietly moved to his next target, repeating the same story with only minor details changed. His real name was Shimon PAYOUT, and he had a documented history of fraud convictions in Israel before this scheme ever started. Investigators eventually connected multiple victims across different countries who had all been targeted by the same man using the same fabricated crisis. He was arrested but ultimately served only a short sentence relative to the roughly $10 million he was accused of taking. THERANOS. Elizabeth Holmes founded a company called THERANOS at just 19 years old, claiming her technology could run over 1,000 medical tests using nothing but a few drops of blood from a simple finger prick, eliminating the need for traditional lab work entirely. Powerful investors bought into the vision, including media figures, former government officials, and military leaders, pouring in hundreds of millions of dollars. By her early 30s, Holmes was worth an estimated $9 billion on paper, the youngest self-made female billionaire in the country. The technology never actually worked the way she claimed. Investigations later revealed the company's machines could only reliably perform a small fraction of the tests it advertised, and for most others it secretly relied on standard laboratory equipment bought from other companies. Patients received false or unreliable results for serious conditions, including cancer and diabetes. It began collapsing in 2015 after a Wall Street Journal investigation exposed the gap between Theranos's claims and what its technology could actually do. The Securities and Exchange Commission charged Holmes with fraud in 2018. She was convicted on multiple counts in January 2022 and sentenced to more than 11 years in prison. House that never fixed. A contractor built his public image around a popular home renovation television show, appearing as the trustworthy expert helping everyday people flip houses for profit. Behind the scenes, he was running an entirely different operation. Investors gave him money believing it would go directly into materials and labor for specific renovation projects. Funds were funneled into a Ponzi-style structure used to pay off earlier investors, with very little actually spent on the renovations people were paying for. One investor had given him $250,000 specifically to remodel a property. When that investor finally visited the site in person, he found a burnt-down shell of a house, with no renovation done at all. He was indicted in November 2019 following an investigation by local prosecutors, and in September 2023 he pleaded guilty to grand theft against multiple victims. Insurance payout. A woman said that a customer had attacked her at work, and the shock left her unable to speak. Because the injury happened on the job, she said she could never work again, and her employer's insurance company paid her every month for the next 16 years. During that time, she saw other doctors for unrelated visits, and none of them ever recorded any sign that she was actually unable to speak. The insurance company grew suspicious and hired a private investigator to watch her. He saw her chatting outside a school and making phone calls like anyone else. Then he approached her directly with a hidden camera and asked for simple directions. She answered him clearly, out loud. A court ruled that her claimed muteness was no longer genuine, and her payments were cut off immediately. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and drop your idea for the next one in the comments.